Is video game hunting dead? This is a topic that will have been talked about every single year before this, and we can talk about this every single year in the future as well. And what we see on the screen here is flea markets have completely lost the plot. We see Mario 64 cartridge only, it's dirty, it's grimy, and it's priced at $75, which is what, 2-3 times as much as a Mario 64 cart should sell for? Very easy to just pop on eBay or a game store, right? You can buy a Mario 64 any day of the week. It has a very set price. And in the past few years, of course, even games like Mario 64 were going up in price as everyone seemed to be coming back into retro video games. Be it collecting, playing, reselling, whatever segment of the market it is, people were coming into this hobby. This hobby was as popular as it's ever been, I would say. 2021 was probably the peak of video games as a hobby. In 2023 now, things aren't as bad as it was, but yeah, video game collecting, I don't think it's shocking to say that this is an insanely popular hobby. I actually saw another post on Reddit when I found this one that was talking about they're getting into VHS collecting now because you can go to thrift stores, grad sales, whatever, and most VHS is priced like 50 cents to $2. Completely different level of demand than video game collecting, and for a lot of people who just like going out and hunting and stuff, it's nice to be able to just find some cheap stuff to collect and buy, right? And that's going to be a big discussion point here is, do you still go out video game hunting? Do you go to grad sales, flea markets, thrift stores, or is it just a complete waste of time? Say thank you to every single patron, help support the channel as well as the YouTube members. I can't do this without you guys. Hit the like button and let's talk about video game hunting. So for myself, actual video game hunting, going out physically hunting for games, I haven't done that in years. I don't even know the last time I've been to a grad sale. Games being ridiculously priced at these locations is nothing new. This isn't a COVID phenomenon. This isn't a 2023 thing. People have been overpricing their stuff at these types of sales forever. Now, obviously, if we would go back all the way to like the year 2000, 2005, yes, the hobby itself was a lot less popular, so you could just go out and buy stuff that no one really wanted, no one really valued. And even into the 2010s, when I first started seriously getting into it, competition was just lower. A lot lower. I don't even know if Price Charts was up yet in 2010. I feel like it's a 2012, 2013 thing. And people actually do blame Price Charts for ruining the hobby. From the Reddit thread here, I did just take a few comments I want to talk about, and on the topic of price charting, phones, all this stuff, unfortunately, technology has ruined the hobby. Finding a price of a game takes 2 seconds now, and a quick eBay search matching this price will tick these guys to price this high. It sucks, but unfortunate, that's the way it goes. And I'm sure a lot of people do feel this way, that technology has ruined the hobby. Anyone can look up the price of games now. It's extremely easy. Access to information exists for everybody, which I would honestly say is a good thing. I think that access to information is almost always a good thing, no matter what effects it has, which when someone is dramatic like this, saying it ruined the hobby, when I read this statement, I have to think like, okay, what was your hobby then? Was your hobby going out every weekend and ripping people off? Like, what was your hobby that price charting ruined it for you? And obviously, a lot of video game collectors love video game hunting, and none of us want to pay the market price for stuff. Like, I want my rare games for cheap. But in every one of those scenarios where one of us collectors, resellers, whatever it is, when someone gets a game at a steep discount, there is someone losing on the other side of that equation. Now, if it's a thrift store, Value Village, I do not care, right? Get deals from Goodwill all you want. But if it's a grad sale or another actual person-to-person transaction, I would personally rather see that person have access to information, have fair pricing on their stuff, rather than just giving it away. I don't care if you're a collector, reseller. I really don't care who's getting it. I don't think anyone chucking this stuff on their shelf is better than someone chucking it on eBay. Frankly, the person putting it on eBay is adding the supply back to the market versus the collector who's just going to let it sit and rot in their game room. More supply coming to market does equal lower prices. But with price charts entering into the market, undoubtedly there was a change in the hobby. And that did also come with the rise of YouTube influencers making content about retro video games. It became easier to price stuff, and of course, the hobby itself was slowly starting to become more popular. Even around 2015 in my local area, which I don't live in a very large city, but my local area had already become swamped by people who would be refreshing the used apps. Kijiji, Mercari, Craigslist, you know, there's people on there who literally just refresh it all day or they have alerts set up. That was starting already in 2015, which makes sense, right? And this is something I think about a lot. The hobby itself, as it continues to grow, flourish, more people get involved, optimization occurs. So when we're out hunting for games physically, right, it's kind of like IRL farming. For anyone who's played Diablo, Warcraft, any of those games where you just get RNG drops, like you are going out in person, in real life, farming for items. You're just a loot goblin, seeing whatever you can get your little goblin hands on. And when you're doing that stuff, I think that a lot of people actually do have expectation to find stuff, where I've personally always seen game hunting as a love of the hunt type of thing. Like, you'd better love the process, because you're not going to find anything basically ever. Anyone who hunts regularly knows, like, you might find something one in every, 50 hunts you go on? One of every 50 grad sales? One of every 10 weekends? Like, sure, you might find little stuff here and there, right? But the stuff you find, most of the time, well, almost always, will not be worth the actual time that you put into the hobby. Like, let's say it takes you 4 hours to go hit some grad sales on the weekend, right? A minimum wage job is what, 13 bucks an hour now? You have to find like $50 worth of stuff in that 4 hours for it to be like a perfect equation of your time value. Otherwise, you could just go get a job and then just purchase the items you want instead. So you'd better have a passion for the hunt, a passion for the search. The exact same way where if you're doing the same Warcraft raid or the same Diablo farming, like, you just have a passion for playing the game. And in that same vein, as I talk about optimization and stuff, obviously the hobby is going to be a lot more competitive, a lot harder. The meta has changed. Again, using video games as an analogy here, like the meta is not going to stay the same in 10 years. Smash Melee in 2023 looks nothing like Melee from 2013. So if you're still going to grad sales hoping to find something like a Mario 64 cartridge, one of the most common things, right? Everyone knows these games have value now. So if you're still hunting in that bottom of the barrel type meta, no information required, you are going to have to be the person who's up at 5 a.m. going to these sales, who's going to hundreds of sales. You can't expect to spend one random weekend and just find some stuff. It just won't happen. Another good take I saw in the thread here was, we are all responsible for this state of affairs. Markets merely reflect the overall macroeconomic environment, and our environment is characterized by a strong desire on the part of many to own vintage video games and consoles, which is very eloquently stating that prices can't drop while we all want to own this stuff. If we want to own multiple hundreds, people have collections of thousands of video games. If that is what this hobby is, then yeah, this is what the hobby is also going to be when it comes to hunting, reselling, collecting. And that won't change until individuals who are actually super interested in these games right now, like the collectors who complain that they can't get stuff cheap, prices won't become cheap again until people just like that no longer value or want to own this stuff. If we still have communities like this Reddit here, there's 249,000 members in this video game collecting subreddit, right? If we still have communities like this that want to share, talk about, collect video games, then nothing is going to change. And you can kind of see the sentiment of the people in this thread here, as this person says, lol, no one is entitled to cheap prices, and he's sitting at 31 downvotes. That kind of is the gist of it. No one is entitled to cheap video game prices. It doesn't matter if you're a diehard gamer, collector, any of that stuff. This hobby is simply too competitive now. This hobby is simply too big now. If you want to get stuff at steep discount, then you have to play the meta. And the meta is getting up at 5 a.m., going to sales early. It's being the scumbag reseller. As of right now, that's the successful meta. You don't have to actually resell the stuff that you get, but you have to be doing the same things if you want to compete. And like I said, for myself, it's literally just not worth it. For me personally, it's not worth it to get up early on the weekends. I want to sleep. It's not worth it to go to 50 grad sales and find nothing. It's not worth it to walk in Value Village with a hope and a prayer. It's just not worth it for me. Which does unfortunately mean that the actual hobby of video game hunting in person for myself is kind of dead. It doesn't really exist. But the thing that I did change for myself, and this goes from how Mario 64 cartridge, that is the bottom of the barrel, no information required, right? The thing that you can do is level up your knowledge as you go. Like, the wider net you can cast, the more stuff you're gonna find. You should be looking for complete in-box video games. You should learn how condition premiums play off of stuff. A lot of people will price off of price charting, right? That person said technology ruined the hobby. I have gotten some of my best deals in collecting because people use price charting. People have CIB stuff, people have sealed stuff, and they'll look at price charting and they'll just quote that price. And when we get into the world of complete in-box games, condition is everything. Chase After the Right Price just had a great YouTube video where he found a ton of Super Nintendo boxes and the condition on them looked fantastic. And I'm pretty sure he paid the guy 70% of price charting, which as far as reseller margin games go, right? That is terrible. But the condition of the boxes of those Super Nintendo games is going to get him 150%, maybe even 200% of what price charting says. And that's the kind of stuff that you can start to learn in this hobby, where you can always stay ahead of people who know nothing. And because I do love hunting, I love wasting my time looking for a good deal, I learned how to optimize eBay searches. I turned on eBay alerts. I used sniping software. I learned more advanced search terms for eBay. Using brackets, commas, quotation marks. You can really optimize eBay searches so that you can cast extremely wide nets and then just sit there and refresh your phone. There's way more chances to get a good deal on eBay while you're just sitting in your bed than you'll ever have getting up at 5 a.m. on a weekend. A lot of people just say someone is lucky or wow, what a lucky find. But a lot of people who get lucky are also people who do increase their chances at getting lucky. Luck in itself is a function of exposure to opportunity. Put simply, if you go to more garage sales, you have more chance at getting lucky. And for every single person that posts they just got an amazing find, got lucky at a garage sale, for all we know, they just had 100 garage sales where they got nothing. So to answer the overall question, I don't know if I would call video game hunting dead, but if you're just a casual enthusiast, you go out once or twice, you're looking for stuff, if you don't love the hunt, if you don't love the process, like, don't waste your time. So for the casual person, I would say it's dead. But if you are someone actually keeping up with the meta of game hunting, there's a lot of stuff still out there, and there always will be. And the same way I talked about how a fighting game in 2013 won't look the same as a fighting game in 2023, through all of that changing, people will drop out of it. All the time, people will talk about the golden years of COD, Fortnite, Minecraft, whatever game it is. The golden years of video game hunting are well behind us. Make no mistake. Current video game hunting culture is ruthless. It is very, very difficult. But let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you still hunt for video games in person. Hit the like button before you go, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.